Hello everyone, I'm Sir Derpy Creeper, and welcome back to WhizDum Wednesday. It's a weekly podcast where I basically talk about things in life you may not understand, or the way you feel about yourself, or ways to improve how your life is. So my goal with this is to make you a whiz out of making wise decisions and to steam them up to make them even better. I'd like to start the segment off saying thank you. Seriously, thank you. About Monday, I was playing a horror game with my friends, Toon, Dixie, and Vision, and basically I was playing it and I was generously donated pretty much almost enough money to get a second monitor for my setup, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have people in my life who really support what I do and help, bring me up forward with things. And so I just want to say massive shout out. Thank you guys. Seriously, I appreciate you. And honestly, I can never be more thankful for this, because here's the thing is that this year has been a great year for me. And I know this year has been hectic and crazy for that, but for the most part, this year has been really great for me. My setup has seen massive changes over the year, and it's going to be even bigger. And the year's not even up yet. I mean, it's crazy. Plus, I'm going to have a lot of tax deductions, all right? Listen, you guys are helping me out a lot, but seriously, I mean it. Thank you. Without y'all, I probably wouldn't even be doing what I do, at least with sheer confidence. I had confidence before, but it's more narrowed and sharpened, and it makes me happy that what I'm doing is fully improving things, and I wouldn't be able to feel like that without you guys. So seriously, thank you. Now, I would like to say a little bit about Spotify and SoundCloud. Today, I think Warnings and Wells should be up there, and I highly encourage you guys to listen to those two. They're very good to listen to, especially Wells. Wells is a thing that I think can kind of touch on depression a bit, and not only that, just anxiety and how we can fall into our own minds and stuff. So I really encourage you guys to listen to it on SoundCloud or Spotify. I will try within the next week to get it all caught up. So when it's all caught up, we'll be able to have everything come out at the same time, which will be really cool, and I'll be excited for. But anyway, a recap of Wolf, because last week, if you weren't here last week, we talked about Wolf, and it's kind of like the lone wolf mentality, like you're alone. And I basically talked about this, and I'll take a big segment that I thought was a really cool thing, is that, sometimes we wall people off. Speaking of walls, we wall people off just because we're scared to be vulnerable, so we want to be alone, so we're not vulnerable to other people. But when we isolate ourselves and put these walls up around other people, we then are more vulnerable to ourselves, which is some crazy stuff. So that's just a big segment. That's one of my favorite parts from that segment. I basically talk about their lone wolf mentality and kind of how other people can help other people, especially with COVID now, with the whole coronavirus, everything going around. We've been isolated for a long time. And, we kind of have this initial feeling now of what loneliness actually is. And so I also encourage other people, and I encourage anybody else, if you know someone who's really lonely, speak out, invite them to something, do something fun with them. Because here's the thing is that right now, a lot of people are lonely, and they don't need to be trapped by themselves inside their own mind. So if you'd like to hear more on that, please go check out Wolf. It was my last WhizDum Wednesday. And now let's get on with the segment. I would like to start this off by saying, as much as there are great motivating things in life, encouraging things, great things in your life that can happen to you that propel you forward, there is also enemies in your life that lay traps to slow you down, to stop you in your tracks. A lot of these enemies are world events, ourselves, other people, and for the people who believe in the devil, the devil. Devil's a mixture of all these things. These traps I'm talking about are called webs. Webs are what spiders lay. They lay them out to get prey, basically. They want to get their food. These enemies want you to fill their needs and their wants, their hunger for destruction for most of the part. So what I want to mainly talk about is the kind of enemies you have to look out for in your life so you don't get yourself into these webs. And not only that, to kind of avoid the webs as well, and to get out of a web if you're inside of webs. Because here's the thing is that sometimes we get caught in these webs. Here's the thing is that as a human, as anyone, I'm pretty sure one time, at the very, very least, one time we have been caught in a web. That's just how it is. So the first thing I want to talk about as in the kind of enemy is world events, like I mentioned. And world events can be like bad tragedies, like there's a bunch of bad things going on. Death of a family member or someone you care and love. That can also be a web, depending on your reaction to it. Politics. Politics is a big one, a big giant web that a lot of people use to get people riled up and angry or to basically get on their side. They'll twist and do whatever they want with that one. The second enemy is ourselves. For the most part, it's our thoughts, desires, and how we react to the events that happen into our lives. That is what we have to look out for as well. The third is other people. Here's the thing. As much as you find great people in your life, you're also going to find people who want to tear you down. You have to be extremely careful of that one as well. That one can be your family, people with ill intent, people who aren't your friends, and there's people who pretend to be your friends. And not saying here's the thing too, it's like friends-wise, not all friends are enemies. Here's the thing is that I believe that, sometimes we sacrifice too much of our time for our friends instead of putting our life and time towards the goal that we need to commit to. And the fourth is the devil. Here's the thing is I feel that the devil uses all of these things to get to people. And, if you don't believe in the devil, wait till later, and I feel like, I can give another perspective rather than just the devil. I feel like there's just a way of how life works, of how, as soon as you try to do better in your life, there's something else that kind of tries to keep you back. So, now that I've told you the enemies, I want to tell you kind of how to avoid the traps that they lay. And I want to share a quote that I found from Toby Mack's Facebook page. If you don't know who Toby Mack is, I recommend checking his Facebook page out. He puts very, very good quotes. I don't know if it's him. It's probably his admins or something. But he got some really good quotes on there. Some that he makes or some that, they make themselves or other people's quotes. And he ordered them. I don't know what to say. I'll say he because it's typically just says Toby Mack. But he shared a quote that I really, really loved. And it's a Speak Life post, I think. But what this person said is this. Life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. That was by Dennis P. Kimbrough. I don't know who Dennis P. Kimbrough is, but my lord, that's freaking accurate. Here's the thing is I believe that this counts towards almost all the webs I already mentioned, is that how we react to these certain situations is a big example of if we've been caught into a web or not. And it's whether if something's bad's happened to us through our family members, through politics and the world events, even what happens within ourselves too. How we react to ourselves is a big thing, and it correlates with events. So the events are kind of like correlated. Ourselves, I feel like, is the main kind of webs a lot of the time we get caught in, because of the fact that it depends on how we react to these certain situations of life that really dictate if we're caught in one or not. So, for example, we'll talk about politics. Have you ever been angry because someone else had a different opinion than yours? I have as well. So, it's okay to admit that if you have. All right, here's the thing is that I used to be very, very politically minded. All right, I'm not as much anymore, but I still typically look at it. I don't look at it as much because I know what it's like to be consumed by politics. And here's the thing. Don't be consumed by politics. And here's the thing, too. I'm not a professional at politics, all right? I don't know half the crud that goes on, and I can almost guarantee you a lot of you probably don't know either. We don't need to pretend we're political majors, okay? There's nothing wrong with, looking at politics, but being consumed by politics is what the problem is. See, a lot of people in politics or media, they lay out webs to either convince you to either vote for somebody or make somebody look bad, lies. It's a lot of that. And here's the thing is that these lies are very enticing to get into. They're like, oh, I really want to get into it. Or sometimes it's not even lies. It's probably half-truths. Here's the thing, too, is I learned from the book that I've been reading, the Character Matters book, is that a true statement isn't always the truth. Because you can use a true statement, but you can use it to twist it and make bad things out of it. And here's the thing is that I feel like that's what happens around the times, especially with media and politics here. because politics is usually, I want to win, I want to control the country, I want to move it forward, and that's usually what people want, is it to move forward. But I believe that one of us have been caught in this situation, at least for one time before. I've moved myself into a more dual-sided mindset, but I don't talk about politics because I feel like if you talk too far about politics, it's going to start a conversation that's bad with people. So this is very middle-sided. All right, I'm not saying, one's better, one's that. And here's the thing is that I feel like people have this mentality of the web that they get caught in of, I can't believe this person is so insensitive. Why would they do this? Do they not care about other people or other countries? And then the other side will probably say, I can't believe these people don't listen to facts. They don't understand our country needs to grow more. You see, both have these equal reactions to each other, but they don't refuse to see the middle in between, to where, sometimes if you're too far, you're going to be in your web. You're going to be caught and consumed with anger. And a lot of the times is that the other person doesn't see the other side. My suggestion to dodging this kind of web that these are laid is control your anger. Control it. Here's the thing, even this is all the cases, in my opinion, is if you do not control your anger, what's going to happen is you're going to be consumed. You're going to sit there and be riled up and angry over things that probably don't matter as much as you think they do. It's okay to be angry, though. Don't get me wrong. Here's the thing, is that sometimes we get angry, all right? Even Jesus himself has been angry before. But making angry actions is the problem. So you can be angry as long as you can control it. Don't be consumed by the anger. But when you go to the resort of creating actions out of your anger, that is where the problem is. That is a web you have to dodge. Here's the thing, is most of the time, what I had to do to stop that as well, stop looking at Twitter. Here's the thing. Twitter is a madhouse of false lies and deception most of the time anyway. Do not listen, if you have a problem when it comes to politics or being consumed by anger, don't look at Twitter, all right? I stopped looking at Twitter. And Facebook, here's the thing. Facebook, I look at more now because typically it's not, at least the friends I'm friends with aren't Facebook, like, rioters, and they're not mad of, about anything happening to them. But, typically, I would say just dodge social media, especially social media where it's it's very politically driven, and which Twitter is definitely politically driven. So I would suggest dodging that. Don't look at the social media. That's what it did. It helped me a lot. I'll tell you that. It helped me so much to sit back and be like, I need to stop looking at this, because if I keep looking at it, it's going to consume me. And that's what you need to probably do. If you're getting consumed by anger too much, stop looking at social media. All right, stop looking at Twitter and Facebook, because here's the thing, Twitter and Facebook's where they're most riled up at. Control your anger. I'll say another thing about a web too, is that sometimes, as if you look at a web, it's very crafted. You know what I mean? If you've ever looked at a spider's web, it looks kind of nice actually, especially when it's dripped and you got a good nice picture of a spider web. It looks really beautiful in a way, and it's perfect. It's got perfect seams, and it's sewn really nice. A lot of the times, the things we look at are actually things we're not supposed to be looking at. How many times have you caught yourself looking at something you shouldn't be looking at because it looks pretty good so far from a distance, but the moment you get closer to it, you're wrapped up. Sometimes they happen right in front of us, and it looks really nice at the moment, but once you get in and you're wrapped up, you're trapped in it. Something so beautiful can be so evil if you've got the wrong heart about it as well. Your heart's desires can really put you inside of a web and tangle you up. Here's the thing, is that I feel like a big example of a web is lust. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Lust is a big web that people get caught in a lot. How many times have you seen a pop-up ad that looks kind of appealing, especially when it comes to a man or a woman, that looks pretty appealing, and you're like, oh man, I want to click that. Now, you don't even have to click it. You may be smart enough not to click the ad, but here's the thing too, is that just seeing it will probably set you off. That's why just looking at a web can also get you entangled into it. So you can't look at a web. You don't look at these things. At the moment, in my opinion, here's the thing, is a good way to negate that. If you see something like that, especially if you're addicted to something like that, the moment you see it, you need to get in your mind, this is bad for me. I need to stop. You need to look away. Because here's the thing, is that a thing that I listened to a podcast. Ethan showed me about it. So basically back when Ethan was on my podcast, back in Wishing, he mentioned that there was a podcast called Beth Tikkun, and I didn't listen to it really until he mentioned one about walls and gates. So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I listened to Beth Tikkun's podcast, and it was fire. Listen, here's the thing. I'm not a Jewish rabbi or anything, but that person, I don't know if his name's Beth Tikkun or if that's just the name of the organization, but that person was smart and wise. That, like, I felt so, like, I just listened to the man, and I was like, this person's wise. But he said, listen, we're our own gatekeepers. Because, like, here's the thing. Just like how we have walls, we also have gates and enemies. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And a lot of times we walk outside the gate, or we don't even walk outside the gate. We look over the gate to look at something that looks pretty cool to us, but you know it's bad for you. And so us looking through the gate, you know, sometimes we like it and we like the way it looks, so we let it in. Don't look over the gate at something bad. Here's the thing. Webs look beautiful sometimes, especially when you're in a motion of lust. Look away from it. Here's the thing. Once you're stuck in that addiction, you're kind of consumed and you kind of lose your own mind in a way. Don't let it go so far. One of my last solutions, I think, of dodging a web will come up in just a second, but I will also say this, is that for those of you who don't believe in the devil, I will say this. Typically, when you try to do better in your life, there's always going to be something to try to hold you back and keep you from growing. Here's the thing, is that I feel like life, in a way, even if you don't believe in God, and that's fine if you don't, there's no judgmentality on you. I feel like any time in life you try to do better, there's always something trying to kick you back. And it's a test to make sure you can go further. And here's the thing, a lot of the times our webs are just like walls in life. We'll walk through the webs. Sometimes we have to actually get through the webs or cut the webs down. It's smart if you know what webs you got to look out for. When it comes to life, is that a lot of the times webs are actually worse than walls. Because here's the thing, with walls, we can block ourselves up, and the only enemy we have to worry about is ourselves. But in webs, we have a mixture of enemies coming after us. We got ourselves, life events, and we got other people, because we're out in the open, by the way. We got a web on top of us. You have to be careful. Another thing I want to talk about is people. Here's the thing, is that there are people in your life that aren't good for you, that plan evil things to you. Now, here's the thing, not everybody is like this, but here's the thing, you will definitely run into somebody who does not have your best interest at hand, who wants to keep you from doing something great. Do not be around those kinds of people. Don't. Here's the thing, people can change, yes, but do not surround yourself with people who clearly conspire against you, for an example. Another thing from Beth Tikkun, there was an hour podcast. It was so awesome. I don't know what his name is. Is it on here? I hope it's on here. I think it's on here. It has to be. Okay, it's called Nehemiah. I think Nehemiah. Don't hurt me, please. But he talked about how in the part of a Bible that there was a guy who felt like he needed to build walls for Jerusalem, I think, and it was pretty cool. I liked hearing about it because I didn't really hear a whole lot about it, but there were people who came up and they didn't like his idea of building the wall. And so these people came up and said, hey, listen, we don't like the fact that you're building the wall. And he says, well, I'm doing this because I feel like God wants me to. And he kept building towards it. And so these people kept conspiring against him, kept saying, they started spreading false rumors, and they tried to get him down to, talk to him or something like that, but he wouldn't budge. He still kept building the wall. We need to have this mentality of we still need to build our wall, but it's a protection wall at that point. And I should have mentioned this in walls as well, is that, there's a good wall to have in your life, but there's also bad walls to hit, A good wall is to build around yourself in a way of, some things should not be inside your heart, so don't allow it. And so he mentioned how at one point they couldn't get him to come down, so they tried to be his friend and pretend to be his friend. And I like how Beth Tikkun says this. He says, when your enemy tries to be your friend or pretends to be your friend or starts acting like your friend, you need to be suspicious of that. Because here's the thing, once you give in or you get scared away by this web they're trying to create, you could walk right into it. That's why you have to be suspicious. Be aware. And now, when I mentioned by friends, by the way, it's not that your friends are like evil people, all right? Listen, but I do feel like the devil can probably use our friends as an example of, hey, listen, come spend some time with me, man. You haven't spent time with me in such a long time. Come spend some time with me. Or something of the line of like, hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with asking for more time, but here's the thing is that if they're your friend, they will respect your time. But you also need to respect your own time and have some time made for them, but not in the aspect of, if you're doing something to fulfill your dream, keep doing it, but also make your own time. Have good time management. So, not saying, oh, snap, your friend's a devil worshiper, get him out of your life, but that's pretty much what I got right there. And the last solution I have for kind of solving webs, for an example, is pray. Here's the thing. Sometimes you need to pray. If you don't believe in God, that's fine, but I feel like I need to talk about this is you need to pray if you run out any other ideas. All right, because here's the thing. Is sometimes we try everything we can, but still can't find that answer, and I feel like prayer is a good answer for that. I get so caught up with my life. I really do. It overwhelms me, and I'm serious. It does. And I've been caught in so many webs in my life. But the moment I've prayed, it just felt like the web dispersed, and it just felt like I could breathe. I mentioned this in another Wisdom Wednesdays. This moment I prayed, I felt like I was breathing again. Like I had no idea, but I lost my breath for so long. I don't know if anyone relates to that or not, but here's the thing is that once you've been caught in so many webs, it may not even be a web of a trap from an enemy, for example. It could be webs from you not moving for so long. And so when you get that breath of fresh air, again, it just feels great. The moment I pray about these things, though, I realize the mistakes I made, and I look over and I do better. I'm like, all right, listen, I made the mistake. So here's the thing is that a lot of times we want to take matters into our own hands, but we don't take it to God. And so in my heart, I'm like, oh man, I want to take this to my own hands. The moment I prayed, I realized I shouldn't have done that, and I didn't do it because I prayed. I would have done it if I didn't. Another thing I'll say is that a weird symbolism thing happened to me, all right? I will be honest with you, I got caught in the web just last night, and it was crazy to me because a spider was literally crawling on my leg to symbolize, hey man, you caught yourself in a web. The very thing you wrote a summary about, you caught yourself in a web. And I want to say that it's possible from anything. Now, a spider did freak the crud out of me, don't get me wrong, but to me, I saw that as symbolism of like, all right, I need to be aware of these certain things so I don't get caught in these webs anymore. But not only that, like I mentioned in warnings, that right there could very well be a warning. Don't get caught in the webs anymore. Be more aware of the webs. Here's the thing, the webs in life are scary, and sometimes you don't see them, all right? Sometimes they're so thin you don't even see them, they come out of nowhere. You got to get out of the webs. Go through them. Here's the thing, too, is that a lot of the times is that when we see a web, we're too scared to go through it. But a lot of times we have to go through the web or at least cut it down to walk through it. The thing about God is that I feel like a lot of people are scared so they don't go near a web. But instead of asking for the strength, a lot of people say, hey, get me out of this web rather than get me through this web. And I feel like you need to get through the web to become stronger. It's almost like a wall, but it's an obstacle. It's still an obstacle. Webs are an obstacle. Walls are an obstacle in your life. Webs are a lot scarier, yes, but here's the thing is that I believe that you can get through anything, especially when you pray. If you're not a big fan of God, that's fine. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't feel pressured to be a part of it. So one of the beautiful things about life and free will is that you have the free will to believe what you want. And then if you ever want to believe in God, that's on your own time. Listen, I'm fully respectful of that. The main thing I want you to remember is don't get caught in the webs of the enemy. And I'm going to give a little bit of a recap now. This won't be a long Wisdom Wednesday, all right? I've been looking at podcasts to hopefully help me out right here. So that's the main thing. But I want you guys to remember the kinds of enemies in your life. Remember. Not the 21st night of September. Remember the enemies. Remember what enemies you need to look out for. Events that happen in your life. World events. Politics. A family member's death. Remember looking out for these things. The family member death, that one's a little bit more of a leeway. But the other two, you got to be aware of these things. Don't be caught up in the webs. Here's the thing. Being even scared of things in the future, that can be a web that could be caused by world events. Fear, it's not just anger. Fear is another thing you can be caught in a web on. I don't know who needed to hear that, but you probably needed it then. Ourselves, our thoughts, desires, actions, how we react. Here's the thing is that the way we want to react, especially out of a form of, like I mentioned, lust. Here's the thing is that our heart's desires, lust may be a thing in there. You need to snuff lust out of it, because if you have lust inside your heart, you're going to have a bad life. You're going to have bad situations creep up on you. You're going to be caught in a lot of webs. Our thoughts, don't lie to yourself. Here's the thing is that if you let your mind control you, you might lie to yourself. A lot of people, especially with depression or anxiety, they'll sit there and overthink things, and all these things are bad. They're all happening to me. Your perspective as well. These are things that are bad for you. If your perspective takes you to a place that's bad for you, your perspective's in the wrong area. Other people. Remember, other people are a thing that will try to get to you. All right, people with ill intent. People want to keep you from your dreams. Sometimes you're friends, but it's not your friend's fault most of the time, all right? They just, sometimes your friends feel lonely, but they also have to respect your time, and you have to respect their time. And here's the thing I just thought about. What about drama? You know, drama actually counts as a web as well. Other people can create these webs of drama to get you enticed to be consumed with drama with other people. The thing I noticed is a lot of maybe online creators probably have maybe even fake their drama to web you up into believing this drama is real. And they benefit from it. And then not only that, you're the ones mainly riled up in the end. Watch out for drama. Drama is a big thing with a lot of people these days, especially with the kinds of people. Because here's the thing, if you use drama as a way of, in your content, for example, you're just creating webs to get other people into drama. Not only that, you fell into a web of even get the other person's drama itself. If you use your situation to create views or just to get a dramatic response or to get content out of it or extra views, not only that, that's you following your heart's desires, which also puts you into a web of that. And not only that, but you're creating webs for other people, maybe unintentionally, but some people do it intentionally as well. I don't know who needed to hear that, but definitely that counts. I don't know why. That shouldn't have been in the recap, but it's in the recap now, homies. Heck yeah. And the devil. The devil will use all of these tactics to keep you nailed down and to where you can't get to where you want to be. A big quote I want you to remember is this: 10% of life is what happens to us, and 90% of it is how we react to it. And that's by Dennis P. Kimbrough, just to remember that. Remember that. Listen, our reactions to things are how we live our lives. If you react to a bad situation, like a bad day, and it ruins or a bad thing that happened in your day for the first 5 minutes, and you let it ruin the rest of your day, that's because of how you reacted to it. Don't react in a bad way. You have to have that maturity in that sense to say, all right, listen, I'm going to control my anger. I'm going to control the way I feel, and I need to push forward. If it's something bad like a family member death, that's highly understandable. I get it. All right, listen, you don't have to be perfect, and no one's perfect. Don't strive to be perfect, but this is just to help you grow as a person. Our reactions prove if we're caught in a web. If you let your anger get the best of you, you're already inside of a web. Remember, if someone's got a political opinion that's different than yours, remember, there's always two sides of a coin. Not only that, try to be the middle of the coin for the most part. You can have your own side if you want, but if you stop listening to other people's opinions and you think that they're just bad people just because they believe in a different opinion than yours, then you've already been caught in a web of politics and the media. Don't fall into the web of the politics and media. Here's the thing. Both sides, no matter what you're on, will lay webs and sit there and say, oh yeah, look, this person's better for you to vote for. This person's a better person. This person's bad for you. The world is bad. You know, there's different things. Don't believe these things. Don't believe what's on the web, all right? The internet, the web, all right? The web itself is a web. Don't believe everything, please. You'll already be caught in a web at that point. Control your anger. Control it. Remember also, sometimes webs are beautiful. They look really pretty, and you want to get closer. Just like I mentioned with gates. Don't peek out over something you're not supposed to be looking at. Remember what I said about lust. Listen, here's the thing. You see a pop-up ad, you need to ignore it. You need to throw your mind off of it and say, all right, I need to get off this website. Get ad block, all right? Ad blocker is a good thing, a solution for that. I've got ad blocker. It's really good. But don't do it in a way of like, I recommend turning it off to support people sometimes, but not like on certain websites. Your heart's desires can really put you in a place that's going to really destroy you. Just letting you know that. Here's the thing, that's a harsh reality, is that when you give into lust, you can be consumed by it, and your mind will go off into it, and you'll think, oh, well, this is okay. It feels good, so it must be good. And here's the thing, is just because it feels good doesn't mean it's good, all right? Sometimes the webs feel good. Doesn't mean it's good for you, though. Remember what I mentioned about people? A lot of people try to stop you in your tracks, all right? Like how I mentioned how even people will try to pretend to be your friends just to get you to stop doing what you're doing. You need to know when these people are bad for you. Here's the thing, is if your enemy just magically becomes your friend out of nowhere, that's kind of weird. All right, be suspicious of it, because here's the thing, people have manipulative tactics to get you to stop doing what you want to do in life. And another main thing I want you to remember is this too, is that webs are obstacles. So what the obstacles will do is they'll try to scare you and keep you in your place, all right? Sometimes you can't even see the webs, but here's the thing too, is that instead of being scared and not moving through it, you need to move through it. A lot of people, especially Christians, they want to pray themselves out of a situation instead of praying themselves through a situation. Here's the thing, you may need to go through it to expand on who you are. Because if you pray to just get out of a situation, it means you can't go further on the path. There are some situations, yes, you need to be out of to become a better person, but in this case, a web, if you're caught up in lies, you need to go through it. Webs are scary. They are. And here's the thing, they differ from walls, because walls, when you wall everybody off, the only one that can hurt you inside there is yourself. But when you also get caught in a web, everything's on display. So be careful. Don't go over these webs. Both walls and webs are bad. Just because webs are scarier doesn't mean you should wall people off. Pray. I think you should pray. Because here's the thing, anytime you try to do better, life's going to try and drag you back down. Life's a big web itself. If you've got nothing else, just pray. Don't get caught in the webs of these enemies. I hope you all enjoyed that segment. That's a thing that I felt like was fit really good for Halloween in a way, because it's webs, and a lot of the times I feel like, especially in politics and media, man, there's so many webs created from that, and it's not good, all right? Especially when people make these advertisements, all right? People are trying to get people. They're trying to get people stuck in their pits that they're in. And I know a lot of people don't realize that when they do that, they're hurting other people, but they don't see that. They see the money for the most part. So I hope that was good for y'all. It's actually a little bit shorter than most Wisdom Wednesdays, so I think that's a good plus in my opinion. But I recommend y'all check out the podcast I mentioned in the video. It's called, it's Beth Tikkun, and it's called Nehemiah. I'll put a link in the description, but it's called Nehemiah chapters 1-2, and it says walls, gates, and enemies. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm not a Jewish rabbi, but man, oh man, was that man wise. I'll tell you, dude. I freaking enjoyed listening to that. I'm listening to more podcasts now to see if I can talk better in a way. I also need to sleep in better ways as well, because I didn't go to sleep till like 3 a.m. last night. But I will say that it's some good stuff, literally. If you ever want to check it out, check out that podcast, please. I've been listening to podcasts to improve who I am. That's a good podcast to just look out what things in life you need to let inside your heart. Your heart's like a castle. Don't let it fall apart. So I got Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you'd like to check me out on there, they're all Sir Derpy Creeper. They're mighty fine and majestic. If you want to see some Instagram content, my hands flail a lot. Twitter, I post some tweets most of the time. And Facebook, it's kind of dead as a horse. I need to revive it some. There's a lot of social media, okay? Don't hurt me. We all got Spotify and SoundCloud, Wisdom Wednesday on both of them. Spotify, you'll have a different link. I also will provide the links in the descriptions as well. I also would like to say that I have YouTube. YouTube is currently my most up-to-date Wisdom Wednesday content until I get everything on Spotify and SoundCloud. So be on the lookout for that. Once I get to that all the way updated, I will start saying, hey, listen, everything's updated when it comes to Spotify and SoundCloud. Just letting y'all know. I also have Twitch. Here's the thing is I highly encourage you all to check out my Twitch channel. I live stream the video and I also live stream commentary afterwards talking with my Twitch chat. There's been some great things from me getting from Twitch chat. There's nothing crazy like, oh snap, but like I've had a few realizations that were really good from Twitch chat users, and so I would highly encourage to hear your opinions that way. That's a great way to hear my to hear feedback, by the way. If you ever want me to do feedback, especially live right on time, like seriously, I highly encourage checking out my Twitch chat. It's twitch.tv/SirDerpyCreeper. It's fire content, I ain't gonna lie. Alright, I've been doing some Halloween stuff, so I highly encourage you to check it out. It'd be really fun. And the main thing I want you to remember is this. There's a lot of enemies you need to look out for. Remember this. Whether it's events in your life, other people, yourself, or even the devil. Listen, all this is scary, frightening stuff. Yes, I get it. But you are able to get through this. I believe in you. But you need to be aware and be cautious of these webs that are laid out. Control your anger. You need to control your anger. You need to control your lust. You need to control your eyes. Because here's the thing is sometimes people get lustful in the eyes of a beautiful thing and then they get riled up and gets them. Don't be a prey for these enemies out here laying webs. Till next WhizDum Wednesday, I hope this was able to make a whiz out of you making wise decisions and to steam them up to make them even better. Have a great rest of the week.